Welcome into the show today. Thank you for making this Minnesota Tim podcast a part of your day. If you're watching on YouTube or listening somewhere else, hit that subscribe button so this podcast shows up in your feed multiple times a day sometimes and throughout the week. Appreciate you doing that. And today's topic that I want to address, and it's been really the topic that will continue all off season long, but we're just going to get started talking about it right now because that's what we do. And it, of course, revolves around J.J. McCarthy. Just yesterday, McCarthy admitted and said with a happy face that the Minnesota Vikings have not told him that he is QB1. And he actually likes that because, of course, he likes that. That's classic J.J. McCarthy. It's a classic football guy that wants to earn stuff. And he talked about his health. He's 100%. Of course, he's going to say that. But there's another interesting story that I think we need to talk about that revolves around J.J. McCarthy. Because there's really good news and bad news about the situation J.J. McCarthy is in. The good news is obvious. Has there ever been a quarterback that is going to be a starter his first year? Has there ever been a guy that has walked into a situation as great as J.J. McCarthy is walking into? The offensive line is revamped. You have the best wide receiver duo in the NFL, which also includes a top 5, top 10 tight end in the league. You also have a very good running back who had his best season last year. Oh, and the Vikings also traded for a depth piece at running back in Jordan Mason. But that's not it. You've got an offensive-minded head coach. You've got a defense that is also completely revamped on the defensive line and in the secondary. So I ask again, has there ever been a situation as great as the situation is for J.J. McCarthy walking into his first year? So that's the good. This is the bad. We are going to know immediately, like within the first few weeks, if J.J. McCarthy is a legitimate franchise quarterback moving forward. Because of the situation that he's in. Of course, he can make rookie mistakes and have an interception here and have a mistake here and have a play clock issue there. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the throws McCarthy can make. That is going to be so easy to see because there are no excuses. There are zero excuses for McCarthy moving forward. You can't blame the head coach. He's one of the brightest offensive minds in the league. Of course, people will. People, it was play calling. Terrible play call. You can't blame your wide receivers for not being good enough. You literally have the best wide receiver in the league on your team. You can't blame the offensive line. They just shelled out nearly $100 million to 2 offensive linemen. You can't blame the defense because they, again, shelled out, $70-80 million to bring in Jonathan Allen and Hargrave. You can't blame the owners for not putting the right team around you. So there really is good and bad because as a first-year starter, you look for the good, and the good is everywhere. And the bad is really nowhere to be found. But because the good is so good, the bad really is that if he stinks, if McCarthy is no good, you can't point to the Vikings roster and say, well, if we just add another wide receiver, that will fix McCarthy's issues. Well, if you just bring in a defensive-minded head coach, that's going to solve the problem. Well, I mean, the defensive line, what are you supposed to do with that? You can't blame anything on the Vikings roster. If McCarthy does not play good next season, there will be legitimate concerns because there's no one to blame except for McCarthy. And there's a lot of pressure on him. I'm not concerned that he can't handle the pressure because he handled the pressure pretty well at Michigan. And it was a very similar situation at Michigan, if we're being 100% honest. Michigan, great head coach, great wide receiver core, offensive line, defense. McCarthy is walking into the exact same situation with the Vikings as he had with the Michigan Wolverines. I mean, how lucky is McCarthy to be blessed with a situation like these? I mean, you think about quarterbacks that go to terrible situations. Sam Darnold with the Jets. I mean, could you ask for a tougher situation than what Darnold was given with the Jets? You think about quarterbacks coming out in this year's class. Cam Ward, maybe Tennessee Titans. Is that really a great situation that you want to go to? Maybe. Shedeur Sanders, New York Giants, or Cleveland Browns? Are you kidding me? That's the situation that you could land in? So you think about where McCarthy is going, and this is literally the best situation that any first-year starting quarterback could ever have. And that's the great news. The bad news is that we're going to find out immediately if McCarthy is the guy moving forward for the Minnesota Vikings. The good, the bad, and the ugly. There really is. Because it will be fascinating to see. And I already know what the answer is going to be. What people blame McCarthy's struggles on next season. Because he's not going to be perfect every game. But it's going to be easy because every single fan base in the NFL points the finger at the head coach. It doesn't matter that Kevin O'Connell took Sam Darnold and had a career year with him, 14-3. People still question his coaching abilities and his play calling. It doesn't matter that he took Kirk Cousins at the end of his career and before he had his ruptured Achilles was having the best 2 seasons of his NFL career and still somehow managed to compete for a playoff spot with something called Josh Dobbs, Jaron Hall, and Nick Mullins. Doesn't matter. People are still going to point the finger at Kevin O'Connell's play calling if McCarthy struggles. But I'm going to push back against that because of the reasons I just said. There are no excuses if McCarthy plays poorly next season. Really, there isn't. Who are you going to blame? I know who you're going to blame, but actually think. Don't just point the finger at the easy target. So, as great as the situation is for McCarthy, the pushback against the situation when you think about every angle, because that's what I do. I think about, okay, if he's got a great situation like this, what does that mean? Well, it means that if he's in as great a situation as it looks on paper, there's really nobody to blame except for McCarthy, because excuses are off the table. Your roster is perfect, and that the roster is ready to win a Super Bowl. So that's the good and the bad with J.J. McCarthy entering his first year starting, because let's face the facts. McCarthy will be QB1 next year. Even if he struggles in the spring, he will be QB1. The Vikings haven't admitted it. They haven't even told him that. McCarthy likes that, but he's QB1. So it's going to be a fascinating year because of how good the Vikings roster is and because of the QB situation. So hit that subscribe button and follow button wherever you are listening. I appreciate that. And thank you for making this podcast a part of your day.